Welcome to episode 148 of the Fully In It podcast. So, question for you: what should you be working on every week in your business? What are the consistent actions that'll move the needle forward? In this episode, I'm sharing my business strategy for 2024 and also how you can figure out your own simple weekly business plan. If you're ready to feel confident each week and trust that your actions will pay off in business growth that benefits your family, then you're going to love this episode. Let's go ahead and dig right in. Welcome to Fully In It, a show for moms who are called to grow themselves while growing their families. Join me, Kate Saffel, a life and a business coach for moms, a homeschooling mama of 3, and a woman on a quest to show that our lives become even more meaningful when we remember why we are here and what truly matters most. This show is about going fully in it for you and the people you love by showing up powerfully in motherhood, entrepreneurship, in your home life, and for your family vision. Join me for weekly episodes that will inspire you to live intentionally and by your values, to slow down and truly be present to your family life, to make decisions that grow a profitable business without sacrificing anything in the process, and to become the kind of mom and woman you know you're meant to be in this lifetime. So I know you may be listening to this at any time of day and all over the world, but I just want to say good morning because it is morning for me, and I am drinking my tea, which is Earl Grey that I blended up with some butter and some collagen. And I know that probably sounds weird, but don't knock it until you try it because it's been so good to me since I gave up drinking coffee. I'm no longer drinking coffee 3-4 times a day, but having just a cup of tea in the morning, and that has been more than enough. My kiddos are asleep, and I'm taking advantage of this quiet time in my house to record this episode and just be with you right now. So I hope that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, that this episode meets you exactly where you are, that it is a breath of fresh air and encouragement to you, and that by the end of it, you have so many good ideas for what you want to do next, that it inspires you and most importantly, helps you to take some action, because that's what this episode is going to be primarily about. So I titled this episode Your Simple Business Plan. And if you know me, you know I love anything simple. And especially as mamas who are raising families and we have homes and we have businesses, simple is exactly what we need. And we don't need complicated. We don't need any kind of business plan or strategy that has so many steps that you get that pit in your stomach. Have you ever felt that? Instead, we want a business plan that feels almost like a comforting hug. It helps you relax and feel at ease because you trust that it's going to work for you. And you don't spend a lot of time questioning it and throwing new spaghetti at the wall, trying to figure out what is going to be that magical secret thing that suddenly turns on a flood of sales. I want to just be honest with you that for probably like 97% of us, there is not going to be some magic step that you're going to take that is suddenly going to get you out in front of thousands and thousands of your best people. Now, I will tell you an interesting story because I do think this is really fun, but this is what we want to call an anomaly. Like, this isn't something that is going to happen for every business, which is why we just want to have our simple plan. So a former mastermind colleague of mine, we're acquaintances now, she has a business helping toddlers to sleep. And she's been at that business since, I want to say probably 2019, 2020. So you better believe she has been working a simple business plan the entire time. And I've watched her do it, and I'm aware of what her funnel is for bringing in new people, and she doesn't deviate from it. She's done the same thing for a good 5 years. So let that sink in real quick. She has built a successful business doing the same thing that she figured out works. It just works for her people. It's the best way for her people to find her and then purchase from her. Well, I think probably about a month or so ago, one of her clients gave her a shout out on Instagram. And that client is Amy Schumer, which she's very, very well known celebrity. And she just blew up even more, my friend did, because now she's got, like a celebrity backing her up and saying, this really works. And that is so amazing that happened for her. I was so happy for her. But just that doesn't always happen, right? And we don't need that to happen to have a very successful business, because my friend was already doing exceptionally well in her business before this shout out. And so I'm sure getting those accolades just felt like the cherry on top, right? It just felt probably really good to be recognized in that way, but she didn't necessarily need it. And that is our goal here, is that you build a business that has your back and it has your family's back. So here's what we need it to do to make sure that your business is growing in the way that it needs to grow. You need to know exactly how to help your people find you, for them to fall in love with you, and then for them to buy from you. And we're not going to go into a lot of detail on each of those because, those could be separate episodes. And two, I go into so much more detail about each of those steps in Expand. And all of those modules are inside there. But in a nutshell, helping people find you is just like, what methods are you using to connect with your people? Is it social media? Is it a podcast like this one? Is it getting on other people's platforms and leveraging your growth that way? There's so many options. There's even in person, which is still such a valuable way to grow your business, is networking in person. Or if you have a product-based business that gets you into markets, that's a fantastic way to get your name out there and people to connect and see your face and try your products. But ultimately, the goal is that these nets that you are casting out and that you do it consistently help the right people to find you. And that also is dependent on your messaging. Your messaging is just how you communicate what you do and how you can help, or how your product is a benefit to their life, so that they're all about it. They fall in love with it. They are so ready to work with you, to buy from you. And it makes that next step so much easier for them because you've laid out the path for them. And it helps to move them along from discovering you, realizing you have the solution to their problem, them getting more and more excited about it, and then ultimately them being like, I need this. I have to buy this, right? It's such a good feeling. Now, your business plan needs to be unfluffy, non-fluffy, without fluff, whatever. I don't know what the correct phrase is there, but it can't be fluffy. You can't be doing all the things and trying all the things because you are a mom. And our families matter, so we don't want to just be doing whatever these gurus say to do. We have to do it the mom way. So you're going to figure out what works best for you, and it needs to be bare bones. We want to streamline to the very best steps that make the biggest difference in the least amount of time. Now, you may be thinking, I don't know how to figure that out. And I understand it takes time as an entrepreneur to figure out those variables and essentially create your own formula that works best for you. When you do this, when you commit to a plan, you are going to feel so much more like the CEO of a business, like the founder, versus, this person just kind of like working in it and trying to figure it out and giving up and uncertain and all of that. You don't want to be constantly second guessing yourself. When you commit to a plan like this one, and then I recommend that you go all in on it for 6 months, right? So like make your plan and then do whatever internal work you need to do so that you can stay steady with it for 6 months. Now, the reason we want to do this is because it's going to help you track what is working for you and what isn't. But you need that time and you need that data. The commitment is so important because these steps very well will work for you. Whatever you decide will work for you. But if you are fair weather about these steps, if you're in and you're out, if you go hard for 3 weeks and then you disappear for a month, will your strategy work the way that you want it to? Will you get the full data that you need to know whether or not it works? I think not. So that's my encouragement to you. That's why I make Expand an entire year long so that you can do 6-month cycles. You can do 2 6-month cycles while you're in there so that you can truly nail down your simple weekly business plan and you know what to do and you aren't overthinking it and you can just get down to business and actually help people and make the kind of money that helps your family. So that's why we want to do what we're doing. Now, I want to share my approach. And my approach has, honestly, it's been pretty much the same for the last 5 years. And it has served me very, very well. There have been periods where I've switched it up a little bit. I've tried new things. I got bored and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore because that is tricky for me sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm tired of doing this. Like my podcast, I had a period in, what year was that? Maybe 2022, where I just did not want to do my podcast anymore. I took a super long break. I was like, what do I do with it? I don't know. I ended up renaming it. And it felt funky for a while because, I don't know if you know this, some of you will, but I've been podcasting since 2015. That's a really long time. That's almost 10 years. And so you can imagine doing weekly, even bi-weekly episodes for 9 years, you get a little tired. You get a little like, oh, I got to do another episode. But for the most part, I love doing it or I wouldn't do it. And having a weekly podcast has helped me reach the most people. So that is step 1 of my approach, is putting out a weekly podcast episode, using that as a way to really serve you, serve my people, give value with no strings attached, just so you can be served, get to know me, take away something that's going to help your life. And that has always been my way of looking at podcasting. It is the way that it's helped me connect with a lot of my clients. However, I don't look at it as the way that has to get me my clients, if that makes sense. I don't put the pressure on my podcast. It just has naturally done that for me over the years. And what's really interesting is I'm still signing clients from the Cohesive Home Days, which was my first podcast, and I haven't recorded any new episodes for that one since 2018. Although I will tell you, Melissa and I, so Melissa was my old co-host. You're going to love it. For those of you who know, you're going to love this. She and I have been talking recently, and we were like, oh my goodness, we have to do another episode. Like, what is wrong with us? It has been 5 years. 5 years? I think since we've recorded an episode. It's ridiculous. Our lives have just gone all different kinds of ways, and we needed that time. But we've been talking a lot lately, and she's currently living in China. And so we try to connect when we can because of the time difference. It's a little bit tricky. But yeah, we were like, we need to do one episode. And then we were like, wait a second. We started talking. We're like, we could do like 10 episodes because that's just the way our brains work. So just FYI, that may be coming. You may see that pop up if you are subscribed to Cohesive Home. You may randomly see some episodes come up one day. No promises, but we will see. Okay. So the podcast is also very valuable because, even though Instagram has been incredibly helpful for me to also bring in new clients, I've never wanted to put all of my eggs in the social media basket. And here's why. We don't own our social media. You can't take your social media audience with you. If the app gets shut down, they change their algorithm, someone hacks like your account and takes it over and you lose your account, your people are gone. What would you do? Like, how would you reconnect with them? It would be very, very difficult. And so I always want to just keep that in mind, that we can't rely on social media. And I see this a lot with online businesses. I will say particularly coaches. I'm not trying to point fingers at coaches, but there's been some, I would say, bad business advice saying to just use your Instagram as your website and that you don't need sales pages, that you don't need another place to meet your people. And I'm like, no, this is not good. Because again, I've also seen a lot of these big coaches just completely lose their Instagram and then they have to rebuild it again. So we don't own social media. Always keep that in the back of your mind. This is why email marketing is also a really great step. That is the next part of my approach, is my email marketing strategy. But remember that you have to have a way to connect with your people and then move them onto an email list. It's not like just people randomly come on your email list unless you have a net cast out to bring them in. And we can do that by creating a lead magnet or a freebie. You know, I remember way back in the day, people were actually excited about being on email lists. So you could just be like, hey, join my email list. And they'd be like, yay, I'm coming on it. Now you're like, I will give you whatever you want. What would you like? Come on my email list. I'm kidding. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but sometimes it feels that way, right? Like, I always tell my clients that you still have to sell your free things. You cannot just assume that because it's free, people are going to sign up. You have to tell them the benefit and the value of why they should want the free thing. So I have a lead magnet that I use to bring people onto my email list. And the primary one I use is a training I did a year ago called Mom Brain. And I'm going to be re-recording this later this month and making it even better because it's been a year now and I'm like, I just want to improve it. And I use that lead magnet to run ads to connect with new people. And this is something I've just been recently experimenting with. I don't recommend that you do ads unless you are at a certain point in your business and it financially makes sense. Because in the beginning, you're experimenting and you're trying to figure out what works, and you're experimenting with your own money, FYI. So you have to be okay with putting the money in. Now, at this point for me, I am okay with it because I've been in business for 5.5 years, and as a mom, I'm ready for a simple way to bring more people onto my email list routinely and without me being the one to be moving them. So that way, like if I'm on vacation, I'm homeschooling my kiddos, people could be coming onto my list and, you know, I'm not the one doing it. And since I've been using ads, that has been my experience. It's been really cool of seeing people subscribing and I'm like, oh, yay, like this is awesome. I can see them going through the emails and watching the training. So, but again, I don't recommend that you do that until you're much farther along in your business because Facebook ads won't work unless your organic marketing is already dialed in. And I've been, you know, my messaging has been so dialed in for years now that it makes it a lot easier for me to know how to set up my Facebook ads and what to say and who are my best people and how to build out that audience in Facebook so that, you know, my ideal clients will see it and then they will sign up. Okay, so I kind of went off on a little tangent there. But going back to email marketing, I send maybe 2 emails a week, maybe 3, depending on if I've opened something up, you know, like Expand is open right now for enrollment. So I've been sending a little bit more emails. And I use these, though, to nurture my people and give value, as well as just let them know about opportunities to work with me. And it can be good to have a game plan for your emails, even if you're newer in business. And I hear this so much from my clients, and they're like, I don't know what to say. Does anybody even want an email from me? And I'm like, yes, they do. They wouldn't be on your list if they didn't, but you don't want to ghost them. You don't want to wait 6 months to send an email, and then they're surprised when they see your name pop up in their email inbox, and they're like, who is this? And they don't even remember what they signed up for, and then they unsubscribe. So don't do that. Take care of your people. And, I'm a big fan of giving a ton of value up front in my emails, and then at the bottom, just saying, hey, did you like this? Do you want to work with me? Here's how you can do it. So that's my email strategy. Consistent. And then I post to social media 3 to 4 times a week, depending on just what's going on in my own family life. At one point I was posting like 6 to 7 times a week, and I didn't notice a huge difference when I cut back. I didn't suddenly see my sales drop or anything like that. And so I feel pretty good. I feel pretty steady doing 3 to 4 times per week. And then I show up in my Instagram stories and offer value there. Another thing that I try to do, but it is not a big part of my weekly strategy, is giving value in online groups as I can. This has been a really profitable way for me to, grow my business, sign new clients, has just been showing up in online groups and giving value, helping people without strings attached. And inevitably what happens, they're like, oh, I like her. And then I get a DM. Someone's like, hey, how do I work with you? So similar to the podcast, I don't go into online groups with the thought yes, this is going to give me a client, because then it just makes you kind of weird. It shifts your energy around what you're doing. And so I just go into it I want to help people. I want to just be of value, and I want to be part of a conversation. And they're all groups that I want to be in and that I enjoy. So that helps as well. I will also from time to time go on other people's podcasts as those interviews are available. This is not a big part of my strategy. I do have a good friend. Her name is Tanessa Shears, and she was on my podcast last summer. We did an episode on biohacking and world schooling, and she's just a really cool person. This is a huge part of her strategy, huge. She has been on, I don't know the exact number, 200 podcasts or something. And she's gotten on some really big ones. She's worked her way up to getting on some of the big name podcasts. And she sends out a lot of pitches. And this is just what's worked really well for her to get in front of the people that she wants to be seen by. And then she also has her own podcast. So for you, maybe you're like, I don't want to have my own podcast, but perhaps your expertise or your story, your life story is one that people would really love to have on a podcast. And you could always start pitching yourself, sending out 2 pitches a week and seeing where that gets you. Because getting on other people's platforms, whether that's their podcast, doing a Facebook or Instagram live, this gets you in front of brand new eyeballs, people who do not know you. And that is a really fantastic way to grow your audience. So that's really it for me, is just podcasts, social media, sending emails to my people, showing up and serving. And then I know that doing these things takes me, for these specific tasks that I just mentioned, maybe 5 to 7 hours a week at the most. And then the rest of my time that I spend in my business is actually taking care of my clients. It's, responding to their coaching needs in Telegram, going into Heartbeat to work with my Expand mamas. It's going on coaching calls with my private clients. And it's any admin tasks that need to happen to make sure all of this runs effectively. So that's my system. And again, why do we even want to plan one out and follow it, right? Wouldn't it just be easier to just kind of play in your business and have fun? Well, here's the thing. You have a meaningful life to lead with your family. And we want your business to fit around family life. But that's only going to happen if you know what you're doing on a weekly basis and how long it takes you, so you can time block out these tasks and then shut off your brain from your business when you're with your family. I mean, that is the dream, right? Like, that's the goal. And I hear from so many of you that your brain never shuts off. Whether you're thinking about what you need to get done in your business or you're feeling guilty because you're not working on it, it steals your joy away from being present to your family. So I strongly encourage you, maybe you take some time after this episode to just think through, what do you need to do to help people find you, fall in love with you, and buy from you? And if you want my help figuring out your unique, simple business plan, then you want to come into Expand. And this is my group coaching program for mom entrepreneurs. I will help you. The first step is to book a free consult with me so we can talk about your business, your vision for it and for your family, and the simplest path there. Head to happierandmotherhood.com/expand-membership to read more about Expand and book your free call. Or you can just send me a DM on Instagram and I will get you the link to book your free call with me. Okay, I am so grateful that we had this time together. I'm going to get back to drinking my tea because it's going to be, I think it's not cold yet. It's still good. Okay, cool. So I'm going to sit, enjoy my tea, go read for a little bit before I go grocery shopping. And I hope that you are having the best day ever. And that if it hasn't been so great so far, I hope that maybe this was a little bit of a bright spot in your day. I'm grateful that you were here with me, and I will see you next week.